All right, guys. Hi. Hope everyone's having a nice day. Hello, hello. I'm a little late today, but I wanted to come on at 4, but you know, things happen. Kids need to be tended to, right? So I hope everyone's having an awesome day. It has started raining here again, so hopefully it's sunny and bright wherever you guys are. I just wanted to come today, and I'm trying to do an update for you guys every Monday and let you know how it's working out with me and my CBD journey. And then also I have another tidbit for today's video that kind of makes it pretty special. So hopefully you guys will share this information, not necessarily information, but the reason why I'm doing this video today. So first I'll start with my update. Last video, I was telling you how it had been a week since I had started my CBD. It's now been 2 weeks, and everything that I've told you before has improved noticeably within this past week. So falling asleep easier. I really have no trouble falling asleep now. I said tossing and turning had slowed down before. That pretty much doesn't happen. Now, if I do wake up at night, I usually had a hard time going back to sleep. I can now fall back to sleep pretty easily. It's like my body stays in a very sleepy state and I'm able to get back to sleep easier. So that's also noticeable too. Still waking up easier. I wake up like probably an hour before my son gets up, so around 7 o'clock, and I'm getting stuff done. I'm doing whatever needs to be done before I get distracted by him. Like I said, more focused. I haven't had any pain to be relieved in terms of headaches. I normally get headaches and stuff like that, so that is like non-existent. I was talking to a friend earlier today, Danielle Palmer, and she was we were talking about the differences that I noticed, and one thing I said was my depression, like my bouts of crying. Anyone who has depression knows that you randomly get bouts of crying or crying spells or whatever. I had probably my first one yesterday in the 2 weeks that I've started my CBD, which it says a lot because I normally have a few in 1 week. So that was something very, very noticeable that I wanted to let you guys know about too. So without further ado, I just want to get into the real reason why I came on for my video today. So like you guys know, I've started taking CBD products and also trying to spread information about the benefits of CBD, how it can help with different things. And I'm also selling the products as well. So if you guys are interested in a reliable company, check out the website that's in my profile, my bio. You can find it on Instagram, CBD_Hemptress, or you can find it on my personal page on Facebook here, Kristen Kennan. So there is something in particular about CBD that I wanted to shed light on in terms of how it helps. There's a syndrome called Dravet syndrome. Now this is a neurological condition, and it is about 1 in 20,000 to 40,000 children are born with Dravet syndrome. It was known as severe myoclonic epilepsy of infancy, abbreviated SMEI. So that gives you an idea of what it is. It's an epileptic condition that presents itself during infancy. So let's see, before the age of 1 is usually when the signs of Dravet syndrome show. And that can be with 2 kind of generally categorized seizures. There's febrile seizures, which are fever induced, and then you have your non-febrile seizures, which are non-fever induced. So those are the kinds of seizures that we deal with when we're talking about Dravet syndrome. Now, in 70 to 90% of the cases, it's believed that they are caused by what's called nonsense mutations that take place in our DNA chain. So that means that it's, genetic, it's in our DNA. So there is a specific part of the DNA. There's two parts where it can show up in SCN1A and SCN2A genes. Those are the ones they can prematurely stop forming within the DNA chain, and then that's believed that it stops the forming of what's called a sodium channel. So this kind of gets into like the medical and scientific explanation of it. So I'll touch on it just a little bit. But the sodium channel it holds negatively charged neurons. And they alternatively connect with positively charged sodium and negatively charged potassium ions. So without going into too much detail, this reaction that they have within this sodium channel, it produces and regulates a nerve impulse. So with that said, children with Dravet syndrome are believed to not have this sodium channel, which is why they have these epileptic seizures. It's really believed that that's the most likely cause of most epileptic conditions anyway. So these seizures, they can progress to, I found 4 different kinds of seizures that I think you guys would be able to not really relate to, but understand in terms of if you've ever seen a seizure or seen a movie where someone has a seizure. This is the type of stuff that you would normally see, and there's a scientific name for it. So you have your myoclonic seizure, which is like the shock-like or jerking movements that you would see during a seizure. You have your partial, aka focal seizures, where it affects one part of the brain. The person is still alert during this seizure. So the only way that you would know they're having the seizure is if they verbalized it to you and said, hey, you know what, I'm having a seizure right now. You have your psychomotor delay, or it's known as a complex partial seizure. And that results in a cloudy feeling or a loss of consciousness, and repeated reflexive acts. So not necessarily jerking movements, but think of where your reflexes are. When you go to the doctor, they test your reflexes. So it could be a kicking motion, it could be a pulling motion of the arm. And then you have ataxia, which is usually what you would see kind of in a movie when they exaggerate someone having a seizure, and that is lack of voluntary muscle movement completely. Sorry if you guys hear Grayson in the background, he's playing in his room. Speech changes can also happen, abnormal eye movements, and this can be limited to one side of the body, and that's known as hemiataxia or hemiataxia. And then you have dystaxia, which is a mild form of ataxia. It's very, very difficult to treat this syndrome, Dravet syndrome, with anticonvulsant medications. So the FDA has approved use of CBD in the form of Epidiolex. That's the name of the prescription that would be written out, and that is the cannabidiol. People say it different ways, but cannabidiol or CBD. And as of June 2018, that was approved by the FDA as part of treatment for Dravet syndrome. And then you have stripentol, which is an anticonvulsant. So that was also approved as of August 2018 as part of treatment as well. Now, most other anticonvulsants don't seem to work with this syndrome, but this one anticonvulsant seems to have significant effects that they say, okay, let's go ahead and try and treat. So the reason why I'm telling you about Dravet syndrome, there's a little girl by the name of Charlotte Figi, and she was born in Colorado, and she was born in October of 2006. She was born with Dravet syndrome. So all of this stuff that I just listed for you guys, this little girl lived through. This is her life. You know what I'm saying? And by the age of 5, she was wheelchair bound. So, it's difficult to treat, like I said, with anticonvulsants. Her parents did pretty much everything they could. And with the help and research and eventually the approval of 2 doctors. Charlotte's parents enrolled her in the medical marijuana program. So after that, they reached out to the Stanley brothers. And the Stanley brothers, there's 6 of them. There's Joel, Jesse, John, Jordan, Jared, and Josh. And they're all the Stanley brothers. They created and developed a marijuana strain dedicated to Charlotte and her condition and the symptoms and the ailments that she was having. So since she's an underage child, they said, let's try a hemp plant. Let's try, a strain that is more CBD and less THC. So here comes cannabidiol into the mix of, let's try this out. So this is prior to it being approved by the FDA in 2018. So this happened in 2011 when they created this strain. They crossbred marijuana and hemp together, which marijuana and hemp are both cannabis plants, right? So they took both cannabis plants and put them together, but they took out as much CBD as they could and still left it below the legal limit of THC for this young lady. And so they developed this strain, and at first it was known as hippie's disappointment because it was made from hemp and it lacked the psychoactive high that you would experience from the marijuana plant by itself, right? So because this was mostly hemp, you're not getting that psychoactive effect. So they didn't stick with that name, hippie's disappointment. So now this CBD oil in this strain is what we know today as Charlotte's Web. So Charlotte's Web CBD oil was created for Charlotte Figi, this young lady who was born in Colorado, and she had Dravet's syndrome. So this was specifically for her. So let's see, this was in 2012. They started a trial study with this CBD oil that they developed specifically for her, and they said, Charlotte, go ahead, let's take this. Let's see how it does for you. Their research showed, it proved, it gave concrete evidence that she went from 300 seizures in 1 week, 300 seizures in 1 week, to 2 to 3 seizures in a month. Let me put that in perspective for you. 300 seizures a week is the equivalent of 42 to 43 seizures in 1 day. That's the equivalent of no less than 2 seizures in 1 hour in every single hour of the day. So she went from 300 seizures a week to 2 to 3 seizures in a month with just the use of CBD oil. And in 2013, some of you are familiar with Dr. Sanjay Gupta. He did a documentary on CNN entitled Weed, and that was that featured Charlotte and her incredible story. This young lady had such breakthrough with just CBD oil. So a few months ago, Charlotte was taken to the hospital, and subsequently she was diagnosed with pneumonia. It turned out not to be related to COVID, thank God. Unfortunately, the pneumonia led to increased seizures, respiratory failure, and ultimately cardiac arrest. And on April 7th of 2020, Charlotte passed away at the age of 13. I'm dedicating this live today on my Instagram and on my Facebook to Charlotte and her family. I'm tearing up a little bit because she's such a pioneer in this CBD movement that we're going through today. But I dedicate this to her parents, Paige and Matt, her brother Max, and her twin sister, Chase. From my CBD family to yours, we love you and thank you for sharing Charlotte's life journey with us. She'll always be the fueling fire that fueled this CBD movement that we're seeing today. And with that said, if you or someone that you know is looking for a reliable CBD company, like I said, you can go on my profile and you can browse and peruse. If there's someone you know, look into it and talk with your doctors and see if it's something that could help you. I thank you guys for tuning in. You know, this was a tearful but proud presentation to you guys today. Without Charlotte and without her parents, we wouldn't have the products that I can offer you guys today. So go ahead and take a look. Let me know what you think. I love you guys so much. I'm still trying not to cry. I love you guys so much. CBD Hemptress out. Bye, guys. Bye, Instagram.